So we're working on the Bolens today. Today I'm going to be installing the battery cables and battery box, and I'm probably going to try to throw the hood on. I don't really have much else left to do to it. Once I get the hood on and the battery box installed, the only thing I'd want to do eventually is put lights on. And another thing I'll probably do is check the oil in the gearbox for the snowblower as well as for the rear end. I haven't done that yet. It's been working fine. I know I should have done that before I even tried to use it, but the snowblower spins so freely, I'm confident that there's oil in the gearbox there, but it's probably been a very long time since it's been changed. So I see a plug right on the side here. I don't know if there's a plug on the bottom. I'm guessing that's the fill, and there is a plug on the bottom somewhere. If I get time, I'll probably try to mess with the snowblower chute and see if I can't figure something out with that. Honestly, I'd rather run an electric chute, and that's probably what I'm going to do, is just take a windshield wiper motor and attach the wiper motor to that plastic gear where this thing's supposed to spin because the guy welded it on. And the problem is, now I also have all this shit over here, so I'm not going to be able to use this in the first place. But the way the bracket lined up to actually hold the spinning arm for the chute, there's no way you could get on this thing easily. Well, I mean, you can't get it on easy anyways. Like, you can't get on, period. It's so difficult. But it'd just make it twice as hard. So, most likely, I'm probably going to run an electric chute. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. That's going to take a lot of tinkering, but I'm obviously just going to run a little switch right here. As for the chute control, the actual flap, I'm not sure. Like I said, the way it's hooked up now, it just really does not work fantastic. And I mean, anything is better than what I've got right now, because right now, the way it's aiming, that's the way it throws. You cannot control it at all. So it might mean taking 100 small passes at a snowbank versus one and just aiming the chute somewhere where snow can go. And the other day when I was snow blowing for the mail lady for the mailboxes there, I was really struggling with getting snow out of the chute. Like, I really gotta do my plan of making this shovel part of the auger a little bit longer, like half-inch longer, because it just kept jamming. And it is only a single stage, so that doesn't help. But you can see back in there that snow on the top of the auger. I mean, that's how much space there is. So unless ice packs itself in there, it's not going to make a perfect seal. And even then, this thing gets warm because there's all that friction, and it's just going to melt the snow and ice. So I'm not looking for a perfectly tight fit, but you know, an inch gap right up here and on the back, that's just not okay. That's not acceptable at all. And it's not so much the actual auger as it is the shovel bit of the auger. So probably have to get an anvil, put it under here, heat this up, smash this down, weld a half-inch plate of flat bar on there, and try to balance it as best I can. I mean, it's spinning pretty fast, so I'm going to cut the exact same size thing on both sides. I might hit this area over here with the snowblower. I don't really know. I'm kind of worried I'm going to do more damage than actual good. I can get cars in and out. It's just that shit up near the front of the garage I want to hit. And I'd probably remove the little shoes so it sits flat on the ground and can really dig in. But it's February 1st today, so we've got, let's see, till the end of February, call it a month. Till the end of March, call it another month. Probably about 2 more months of this shit. And I mean, right now it's like, it's perfect out. It's the perfect temperature to be wearing a jacket and snow boots and sweatpants, because my hands are as warm as they would be inside. I'm not wearing gloves, and it's perfect out. So makes sense to come out here and work on this today. But after about 2 more months here, once all this shit goes away, I can really start pumping out some videos, because the main factor that's holding me back right now is obviously, of course, the weather and the snow and the inability to like get anywhere and do anything. So anyways, we'll get to it here. Whenever you're installing a battery on something like this, it's going to be sitting outside all the time. I really strongly recommend getting one of these battery boxes. So this one, I know it had a sticker on it somewhere, was only $8.99 at Fleet. But it's a Atwood Power Guard battery case. And I'm not obviously sponsored by these guys. I'm just saying it's a good idea to use them. And all I did, this isn't just sitting in here. I ran 4 bolts just basically in each corner and bolted it down through the bottom. As you can see, there's one. And I just have these. I could put full oil jugs in here, and you know, I would. And I'll probably put one in there, but again, it's a new motor. When's it going to use oil? So, anyways, I just put these in here as shims because I had them, and they were going to go in the recycling bin anyways, so it made sense, and then just some cardboard over there. Anyways, the way these things work is obviously you put your battery in there, you shim it up however you want to shim it up, and there's these little slots. Well, actually, I think my grandpa cut these because this was, yeah, he did. This was his old battery box, but it's a good idea. Just cut a little notch out here, and then if you look at the battery box, that spot there and that spot there, that's where your cables would go. And you could feed it over, but it just makes it easier to do it this way. And then you just press that on. Your battery cables would run out through this spot here and this spot here. And I'm just going to group them together and then run them basically underneath the seat there, along the frame, straight up to the starter, and just attach it with zip ties. And then there's this battery hold down strap, which I really recommend doing. That'll actually keep the lid on. And it's just a friction type. You pull the strap through, it keeps it locked in. And then when you need to access it, you just lift this little clip up, pull it away, pull the cover off, and there you go. I've never used these up until now. And I'm going to start using them now because I always thought they were more expensive. On the four-wheeler, I put my Exide, whatever, that blue battery. I put that blue battery on there, and I ran cables similar to these up to the starter, up to the original factory battery mounts. Seems like every month I'm out there with my battery terminal cleaner cleaning the connections on that battery. And I have put dielectric grease on there, but of course it gets washed away in the rain. And that's another thing. I'm using CRC electronic cleaner to spray. I've already cleaned the terminals with the wire brush cleaner, and these absolutely get one of these terminal cleaners. They are usually only 99 cents or $1.99, and they're worth it. They can do the top mount, and then they can do the actual battery post for the top mount, and you can do the side mounts as well with this brush up top here. But anyways, you brush them clean, you spray it with CRC cleaner, you wipe it off with a rag, and then you use some dielectric grease to just coat the terminals so there's no corrosion that ends up occurring on it. And as dumb as it sounds, that dielectric grease does help with conductivity. I've had other lawnmowers I've worked on before where I've just took some wheel bearing grease. And I mean, yeah, wheel bearing grease helps. Just any sort of grease, it's better than nothing. But every single time that wheel bearing grease would wear out before the dielectric grease does, because it really does help with conductivity. And that's another thing, if your car's starting hard or something, always check your battery connections and clean them all. You know, hit them with electronic cleaner and hit it with electric grease. And honestly, I'd say 9 times out of 10 that fixes my problems on electrical stuff. Anytime I get a vehicle like with this Subaru, we unplugged the battery, took the ECM out, or whatever, the ECU, and then cleaned it with CRC cleaner, put electric grease on it, and it got rid of like 2 check engine lights because the pins were dirty. I don't know if this CRC cleaner is just glorified carb cleaner, but it's definitely got a distinct smell. It smells more like starting fluid. It's got that kind of ethery. If you know what starting fluid smells like, you know what I mean. I know I'm only putting it on the top so I can spread it around. It's just I don't want to pick up all the crud that's around the battery posts here. Plus it doesn't hurt to throw some on the top in case water pools up on the top of the post. Now, I know I said this helps with conductivity. I don't know if dielectric grease is actually conductive. I don't think you'd be able to pop a fuse if you dropped a wire in dielectric grease and it shorted out, you know, but like I said, it's not snake oil. It actually does do something from the times I've used it. Another thing you want to use whenever you're working with these style lead battery posts, get yourself a battery terminal spreader. Don't try to jam it onto the battery because you can break the actual post, and I haven't done it before, but I've gotten close. I used to just sit here with the flathead and try to pry it out, but this literally, you just pop it in, squeeze it, it spreads it. They're only a couple bucks as well. Make sure that's negative before I tighten it up. It's not going anywhere. And I do have the end of this positive terminal taped off, so it's not going to short out. That's why I'm connecting it here right now. I'm only connecting it here right now so I can actually get it run. I'm not going to leave it connected while I'm down at the starter trying to hook it up. I will disconnect it at the battery and then connect it at the battery afterwards, but like I said, I need to know how much of this wire I need and how to run it. And in order to do that, I need to hook it up to the battery, just to be sure. They sure don't give you a lot of extra strap on these battery straps, though. Could just run it on the other side, but I don't really have that much slack there. I got the hood on, and I'm sure the first question many of you are going to have are, why didn't you film it? Ask my camera. I don't know why it didn't film it. But essentially all I did was take the old hood and make a bunch of minor cuts. I still have to make 2 because I want this line to be continuous across. There's no reason for this to be here. And I did spend a good probably 10 minutes trying to get this perfectly straight, and then I welded it. And now there's a very obvious bow down the center of it because I didn't, I wasn't patient, and I didn't, like, you know, weld a 2-inch section, go to this end, weld a 2-inch, weld a 2-inch, and then give it a couple minutes, and then welding a 2-inch, you know, and kind of jumping around so it didn't warp. But at the same time, it's serving its purpose. It doesn't really need to look cosmetically pleasing. I could bend it back. It's not very thick metal, but anyways, I gotta cut a little bit off right here, just a little bit more, because when you lift this up, it comes pretty close to hitting right there. And if I cut that section off I have marked out, that won't be an issue. I'm probably gonna put a little bit of a handle on here because there's no real way to lift it without lifting right here, which is all sharp, jagged metal. I don't really want to do that. I did get the electric start hooked up, excuse me. And right now the hood just lands on the snowblower there. I will eventually put some sort of wire or something, attach it here, and then attach it back here so it stops right here or wherever, so that way when I do modify the snowblower chute and it's aimed forwards, or if I don't have the snowblower chute on there and in the summer I open it, it won't fling all the way to the ground. So yeah, I got everything wired up. Electric start works. This is all the scrap metal that I cut off of the hood there, and I think I went through about 2 grinder discs. It wasn't, well, I think it was like 1.5. And then welding it, I got really good penetration through the bottom. It's not going anywhere. I'm sure you could stand on the thing and it wouldn't bust. So I just ordered 2 universal I ordered a universal throttle cable and a universal choke cable off Amazon. I think those 2 together were something around $15, and that way I can actually be sitting down and operate everything while sitting down. So there's no more gotta get up, mess with the throttle, gotta get back down, gotta get up, gotta do this and mess with the choke and whatever. They do give you a really convenient spot there to attach the throttle. As for the choke, I might have to take the air filter off for that. I know there is a hookup somewhere, but it's kind of shitty out today. I'm hoping I'm not going to get any water on my lens because it's kind of misting out. It's snow, but it's like 39 degrees out, so it's kind of more of a mist than anything. One thing I'd like to quickly add here, if you're ever looking for some grinder wheels, get some of these guys. I think it was 100 of them for like $20, and they're actually pretty good cutting wheels. The company's name is Benchmark Abrasives. I was just scrolling through Facebook and I saw they had a coupon, whatever. I'd never heard of them. I used to buy the Harbor Freight ones, which I think were somewhere around $1 a piece or something. And I mean, these Benchmark Abrasives one just feel like they're a little bit better quality. But also you get 200 of them for $20, and they last just as long. And I usually use the cutting wheel down to nothing, just like I did on this one. Alright, so I just grabbed a 2x4 and a piece of metal and put it under here and then smacked these things down. And they are loads better than they were before. Because before, the thing was curved like back to here. They still have a little bit of a curve to them, but that's alright. It's a lot better than it was. My problem is with this triangle piece up here. I know it serves some kind of purpose. Like, for sure it does. I just don't understand really what it is. Maybe to break the snow off the auger. But anyways, when I put my hand on it like this, my finger width, all the way underneath and to the back is fine. But as soon as it gets to this top piece here, it pinches really hard. So I could cut a piece of metal that's as wide as my finger's width, and it would work up till it hits up here, and then it would just seize. So my thought was I don't know if I was going to like cut this out entirely or what, but I don't want to cut it out and then have to weld it back in. Alright, so I cut that chute control arm off, and it turns out this isn't actually seized. It was the inner rod that was seized. So I took the whole assembly off, and now I just got it held down with the vice grip. So whenever I want to adjust it, all I have to do is undo that, adjust the chute, clamp it back down. It's not a permanent fix. Like I said, I am going to reuse the plastic gear off the old one and then just mount up a like 12-volt window motor, so that way I can just adjust it and it'll stay locked. So I'm gonna go try to plow some shit out of the back in the hopes that I can fit an engine back there today, or 3 or 4. Alright, so my stepdad wants to get access to his Impala because that's one of the cars he was trying to flip before he broke his ankle. I'd say that this snowblower blows snow pretty fucking good. I thought there was not a chance in hell it was going to be able to get through all this. But nope, not a problem at all. Didn't stall out once. So I don't have a single doubt in my mind that I won't be able to clear a path straight to that Impala and then start it up, back it out, and drive it up to the house there so he can finish fixing it. I don't know if I've ever shown you guys my collection. I've probably got, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think there's like 11 or 12 cars back here. There's some behind the tree back there, but a couple of them are scrap cars, a couple of them are parts cars, a couple of them are project cars. I was going to turbo diesel swap that Volkswagen Rabbit, but I'd much rather have a 4-wheel drive truck, and at this point that Volkswagen Rabbit's up for sale. It's a 4-door, it has a gas engine, and yada yada. And then there's a Scion TC right there, right in the center, where the guy is just paying me to store it because he bought it from me. And it was a car I was going to flip, but it ended up needing a motor. I decided I had a donor motor that I thought was good because I got it for free. Turns out it wasn't, and the mechanic shop that he had it towed to didn't want to work on it. And they weren't going to rebuild an engine for him, so they just threw the engine away, even though it was a good block. And those engines are like $1,600 engines, so that was nice of them. And then they came back, dropped it off over here, and I told him he can keep it here if he wants for $20 a month because he signed the title paperwork, but he never transferred it, so it's still technically in the dealer's name. And the dealer is aware of that, and he said he doesn't care one way or the other, but just if he stops paying me storage fees, all I got to do is tell the dealer he'll scrap the title and we can scrap the car. And the guy's fully aware of that, because this isn't like we're trying to strong-arm the guy. This is something he bought this from me it's almost a year ago now, I think. It is a year ago, something like that. And he never came and picked up the title. He was supposed to get those guys to put the engine in it, get the title, transfer it, and done deal. And of course, the dealer I go through doesn't want to have titles sitting in his name that aren't any good. It's just a waste of paperwork that he has to keep track of. And long story short, the guy can store it here for the rest of my fucking life for all I care, as long as I'm getting $20 a month. And Tom doesn't care one way or the other. One way or the other either. But, yeah, if that guy stops paying me, I'll let him fall behind like 1 month, and after that I'll warn him, and if he doesn't do anything about it, I'll probably just scrap the car or list it up for sale again. As shady as that seems, it's same as a storage auction. If someone stores your shit there, whether it's theirs or not, and they don't fucking pay you a storage fee, you warn him, and he did sign a contract saying that he would pay me too. It's not just me saying, he said, I said. It's in writing. He signed his name. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. I do like the guy, but it's kind of one of those things. I'm only allowed so many vehicles on my property, and I've never had any problems, and all the sheriffs around the area know me, and they don't give a shit because it's behind the trees, basically. You have this road, which goes back like 2 miles, but all it is people who live around the Lake George area, and then you have the highway, but every single person on the highway doesn't even know this exists back here. And no one cares because it's not an ugly eyesore. I keep them neat and orderly. Unlike most junkyards where they just pile shit together and it looks like shit. I mow the grass back here. I kind of try to prune the trees. I try to keep this kept up a little bit. But back to the point here. I'm going to continue to try to get some footage of me blowing this here. I can't guarantee it'll be all that great because I'm going to be filming with one hand, driving with the other, so we'll have to see. Yeah, I can't even tell you how fucking happy I am with this snowblower. It's just like absolutely incredible. I honestly think that even if something major goes wrong with it, like the hydraulic pump or something goes out, I will figure out something. I will jerry-rig a fix or rebuild the pump or whatever. The only issue I had with it earlier was I was cruising along, trying to get a path blown out along that side close to the neighbor's house, and it just kind of like quit spinning the wheels, and I was like, well, what the fuck, because the pump was turning, and as soon as you'd give it any sort of movement, it wouldn't work, and neither would the actual hydraulic raise and lower, and I was like, well, what the fuck, it's got oil in it, why isn't the pump working? Because the pump was turning. And what had happened, I think I mentioned earlier, this it's happening again too. I'm gonna have to figure something out for it, because this pulley's got side to side play, and basically what happened was this set screw had kind of vibrated its way loose, and it just wasn't even in the woodruff key slot anymore. So I'm probably going to try to find some longer set screws and run them down in there, or see if I can drill a little bit wider hole and put some bigger set screws in there. Not sure, but it's only this one that ever gets loose. The main drive pulley, the one that's closer to the actual block, doesn't ever have any problems. So maybe it is just as simple as finding a longer set screw and Loctiting it in. I was going to paint this up here so this didn't rust, but at the same time, ain't exactly like the rest of the hood's rusted, so what's the point? It's not going to make it look any better. I might, though. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to see how I feel. Oh, another thing I forgot to note. Obviously the vice grips, I noted that. I did go ahead with that flap idea. And this has been working, like, extremely well. Like, I added this, and I just, like I said, ran some bolts through it and cut it off the other one. And it also helps it because that PTO pulley, like I said, it kept engaging just like randomly. And it was just a little bit of engagement, but this thing spun so freely it wouldn't stop it from spinning, and it would kind of build up enough momentum to where it would, you know, if your foot got caught in there, it'd cause some serious problems. And this just puts just enough friction, like I'm barely turning it. Barely turning it, just with 2 fingers. So it puts enough friction on there to make it so it doesn't spin when the PTO is disengaged. And it's flexible enough to where it scoops along the back and cleans the back off and flings the snow out of the chute. And if you'll notice, there's like hardly any snow in here at all. Reason being, I remembered when I was working on, what was it? It was a wrecked car, and I had the old hood laying on the ground upside down in the snow, and I barely stepped on it, and holy shit, I about broke my fucking neck. It slipped out for me so hard. And then that kind of had me pop an idea into my head, and at the time I'd had a Bronco sitting over here that I was parting out, and I had the really heavy ass axles that I couldn't fucking move with anything because I didn't have something like this at the time. So I just yanked the axles onto the hood and pulled it by hand. Like, the shit was like so slippery you weren't even pulling anything. So all I did was wire brush this the best I could. I mean, I didn't use like a wire wheel. I just kind of knocked all the crud off and then used some wax and grease remover till it wiped clean. And then I put like 3-4 coats of clear coat on there, and my God, does it work wonders. I also put some right along the back in here, and you can feel it's just so smooth. So there's nothing for the snow to actually really grab onto. And you can kind of sort of see a sheen and reflection on there. I might hit it with another couple coats. And, I mean, you figure all you have to do is melt the snow off, wipe it with a rag, and hit it with a can of clear coat. Even if you're doing that every 5 hours, that's not a big deal. Because I didn't use even half a can. I used like a quarter of a can. And earlier when I was trying to snow blow, this slushy shit was just jamming this thing every 30 seconds. I'd have to get out, shut the thing off. So that, in combination with the flaps, has made a world of difference. Before, I wouldn't have been able to do this path back here. It would have been, go 3 inches forwards, the thing clogs, you'd have to get out, unclog it, go 3 inches forwards, just over and over and over again.